Next. The reason why the topic today was referred to as liberalism as religion, and this is a really interesting quote. I'm going to read it out. It says, "Theories of modernization are not scientific hypotheses, but theodicies, narratives of providence and redemption presented in the jargon of social science." What we're saying is that liberalism, the reason why it's been able to have this perceived epistemological upper hand on the religious narrative, not just the Islamic one, is because it seems like you're speaking scientifically when you're talking about secular ideology. What we've been able to show today, ladies and gentlemen, is that that is not the case, and that the first principles of liberalism are unfounded, unsubstantiated, unproven. We've also been able to show, ladies and gentlemen, that actually not only are the first principles unproven, but a lot of them are based on mythology, fiction, stories, and so on. And so to favor that kind of a narrative over and above the Islamic one, or any other religious narrative for that matter, is frankly, academically unfair in the first instance, epistemologically unjustified in the first instance, philosophically unjust, frankly. You can't do that and ask us questions. So before any questions are asked from a person who claims to be a liberal, who might be now thinking that they have found the ultimate truth, how can you prove liberalism is an objective moral standard, number one, from a scientific perspective or otherwise, or from a rational first principle perspective? Number two, why do you expect us to believe in your myth? Why? Even your philosophers that propounded that myth didn't believe in it fully themselves. They didn't conduct any scientific experiments. Number three, do you not realize that it's as conceivable on a contractarian understanding of liberalism to have as much punitive law as could conceivably be the case in an Islamic state with all of the punitive laws being implemented? So if that is the case, what do you have to offer us? What is modernization? Why should we be like you? What have you got for us? The answer is really you have nothing for us. Sorry to say, and to be blunt. You have nothing to offer. Liberalism has nothing to offer Islam. That's the answer. Liberalism has nothing to offer Islam. There's nothing there for us. Everything that's conceivable in liberalism can also be potentially conceivable in Islam, and vice versa, in terms of punitive laws and so on. So what's the issue? Now they'll say human rights. Human rights, and I'm going to say this once and everyone should remember it. Human rights is a metaphysical construct which cannot be actualized in the real world. It's impossible to have an actualization of human rights with the existence of social contracts. You can never have ultimate freedom of anything. That's nonsense on stilts, as Jeremy Bentham said. It's impossible. Now the answer is this, that liberals will say, we define the extent to which freedom of speech, expression, and so on, thought and religion should be exercised in a state in accordance with democracy or this or that or the other. But those things themselves are problematic because they, number one, could be in conflict with liberalism, and number two, could bring out results like Hitler, which, retrospectively everyone looks back and says, how immoral was he? In sum, therefore, what I want to say is, the question needs to be questioned. Whenever they ask you a question which is predicated on human rights, you should say, no, thank you. You have to first justify yourself. The last thing here I've got, sorry, is it okay for me to go over a little bit? Okay. There is an Orientalism here. By the way, Orientalism is not just a book that Edward Said wrote, which places the East as the subject of investigation, the abject, the other, but it's a kind of Orientalism which actually also exists in liberal discourse. So what many liberal Orientalists and progressive Muslims groups attempt to do is demonstrate the extent to which the hudud or punitive laws referred to in the traditionalist discourse are totally aberrational and therefore unacceptable in the context of human rights and liberalism in particular. From this adduction, Muslim minorities in the West who have no intention of bringing to life such abstract rulings are further abject to social imagination of large swathes of the majority of populace. In other words, really and truly, all of those punitive laws of Islam have nothing to do with the Muslim minority existence in the West. we have no intention whatsoever of implementing any of the punitive laws in the Western world. But those laws are used as an ammunition against a minority, which produces an irony, frankly. The irony is, use those things to instill fear in the majority in order for you to juxtapose yourself or define yourself against the Muslim minority. And that is, frankly, a tyranny of the majority type logic, which liberalism itself came to dismiss. Irony. It's an irony. Almost all liberal thinkers talked about tyranny of the majority. Now you have this guy, what's his name? Geertz. What's his first name again? I don't care about his name, Wilder, whatever his name. He's talking about attacks for women wearing a headscarf and this. This is against liberalism because it is, frankly, it doesn't understand that when you have a law in a liberal state, it has to be consistent to all people. He's not even liberal. His party is called the Freedom Party. You should take this ammunition, and it's not physical ammunition. No, take it's intellectual bullets and shoot this guy and others. Not physically. Not physically. Intellectually. Where should I aim? So I'll end with that. Okay. Jazakumullah khairan. We'll open up for questions and answers.